You know, I'm talking to you about my book called Extraordinary. I'm so excited about this book because I believe God has called you to live an extraordinary life. Now, some people look at me and say, well, John, how has this affected your life personally? Well, let me share with you how it's affected me. First and foremost, you must realize, and I'm saying this on every Truth to Go, that grace is not just God's forgiveness. It's not just His ticket to heaven. It's not just His free gift. But more than that, it's His empowerment in our life that gives us the ability to do what truth demands of us. It's His empowerment in our life that gives us the ability to rise above our own natural ability. You know, one of my worst subjects in high school was English. Actually, the worst subject for me was foreign language. Second worst was high school. The second worst subject was English. If an English teacher asked us to write a creative paper, I sweat it like you can't believe. I remember I would literally go through about a half of a pad of a writing tablet, before I could even get past the first paragraph. I'd write a sentence, throw it away, write a couple sentences, throw it away. And it would take me about 2 hours to write a simple page of creative writing. So when God spoke to me in 1992, and He said, son, I want you to write, I laughed. I thought, Lord, I became an engineer in college because engineers don't have to take English. I avoided English. In fact, the SATs, the National Entrance Exam in America, there's a verbal category, an English category, and a mathematic category. I literally flunked the English category. I got a 370 score out of 800. I said, God, you've got the wrong guy. There are great writers, great gifted writers out there. Why would you want me to write? And so I didn't do anything for 10 months. 10 months later, 2 women came to me from 2 different states in America within 2 weeks, and they both said the same words to me. They said, John Bevere, if you don't write what God's given you to write, He's going to give the message to somebody else and you will be judged for it. I remember when the second person said it, the fear of God hit me and I said, I better write. Now the messages, the books are in the millions and they're in 62 languages all over the world. Let me tell you something. This is a guy that couldn't write in his own ability. My English teachers knew that. My English teachers actually made concession for me because of how bad of a reader and writer I was. But yet the grace of God in my life empowered me to go beyond my natural ability. So now who gets the glory? I often tell people that my name's on these books. Why? Because I was the first guy to get to read them. I know God wrote this. I know it was the gift of His grace in my life. And so this is what God has called you to do in your sphere of life, in your world of influence. He's called you to stand out, to distinguish yourself as Daniel distinguished himself in Babylon as a bright, bright light. How do you do it? Through the power of the grace of God. When you begin to rely on God's gift, His grace in you, what's going to happen is you're going to break out of your ordinary. You're going to break out of your common. And you're going to live extraordinarily. And you're going to produce extraordinary fruit. Jesus said, I've ordained you that you should go forth and bear fruit. What does it mean to bear fruit? We look at Christianity and we think, well, it's just about preaching. Doing what my pastor does, that's Christianity. That's not Christianity. Christianity is where we not only speak, but we exemplify the Christ that's within us. Kurt Warner made a statement. He's the quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals and a dear friend. But he made this statement. He said, John's message in this book, Extraordinary, he did it in this endorsement. I used to separate my professional life of football with my Christian life. He said, I realize they're both one and the same. Now he knows that God's grace on his life will give him the ability to shine forth in the arena of life that he's called to. I don't care if you're called as a school teacher, as a stay-home mom, as a businessman. I don't care if you're called in the medical world. God has called you to shine as a bright light and bear fruit in the arena of life that you're called to. For me, I'm a preacher, I'm a writer. But you may be a technician, you may be a teacher. God can give you inspired ideas through the grace of God in you on how to communicate wisdom and knowledge that will cause other teachers in your school to go, wow, what is it about this person? It's the grace of God that's on your life, and then you can tell them about the Jesus you served and about the Jesus that changed you and made you from being normal to extraordinary.